Having a hit on the charts is every recording artist's dream. And in this top 5, we're celebrating artists that were one and done. Stay with us for the top 5 one-hit wonders of the 70s.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. You're home away from home, hopefully, for the best in music and movie podcasting, Eric, right? We're in 2025 now.
Yeah.
So the slate has been wiped clean. 2024 is in the dust. This is all the 2025 content we're bringing.
Welcome to 2020. What a milestone. Jeez.
What a milestone.
Can't believe we're still here.
Yeah. And to start off our second episode of the year, we've got a brand new guest. See, we're breaking new ground. We're not, we're onward and upward. And let's get right to it. Mike Stefano is our guest, and he is the host of the OCR Report podcast, which, if you're not familiar with OCR, it's obstacle course racing, okay? Which is a very interesting type of, there's people that run on roads, then there's people that run on trails, and there's people that do ultras, and then there's people that run on trails but then put obstacles in the way. Sometimes it's flames. Most of the time it's carrying things or climbing ropes and doing all these different things to challenge each other. And I met Mike. I was emceeing an obstacle course race, and Mike was doing his podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because it's Mike, your podcast is very unique because you cover the obstacle course race scene. Yes. And you go over results and all the other things, but you're also in the field, because that's where I met you.
Yeah. I find it interesting.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, yes. I've been on. I've guested on many shows, but this is the best podcast on music and movies that I've ever been on. So thanks for having me.
Yeah,
that's what we like to hear. There you go.
That's true.
But I cover obstacle course racing primarily. Road runs, trail runs, ultras, all that fun stuff too. But OCR really has my heart. I fell in love with it back in 2012, and I wanted to find a way to kind of pay it forward. I'll never be a great athlete. I'm certainly not fast, but I really enjoy talking to people, shining a spotlight on great people. And as you said, we met at Obstacle Wonderland, which was really funny. And this is kind of like a full circle moment, because that was a 70s themed event. And here I am for a 70s themed episode. So I really enjoy it. So just a quick correction. We work under the OCR Report banner, but the podcast is Obstacle Running Adventures.
Obstacle Running Adventures.
Yes.
I stand corrected. And to make sure we get it right, we'll put a link in the show notes to it. So you can check it out. If you've never heard of obstacle course racing or whatever, just check it out, because even if you don't do it, what I enjoy about Mike's podcast is that he kind of goes over things in the beginning, but then, like I said, he's out in the field, also conducting interviews with participants, race directors, really getting into the nitty gritty. And much like the trail running community, which I come from, it's a great welcoming community. And the interesting thing about Mike, this is his dedication. I'm going to tell you about this guy's dedication to his craft. Is he was running the race. So he was participating in the race. He'd be carrying sacks and doing all these things. Then he stopped for a while, got out his microphone, started doing interviews, talking to everybody, and then was cooling down. He's like, well, I'm kind of cooling down, so let me stop interviewing, and then went back out on the course and continued to race, and then came back and did more interviews. So he was kind of, not only was he working for his podcast, but he was also like exerting himself, because this was a multi-hour event at Obstacle Wonderland. So it didn't really have a finish. It was how many laps you could do, right? How many circuits.
Yeah.
And getting it done, and then interviewing people as well.
I appreciate the compliment. I really enjoy it. It's a fun thing to do. And if you think that's crazy, I just covered a 24 or a 25 and a half hour race in Florida, and it goes all through the night. And I walked the whole course and interviewed all the volunteers. And I put a lot into it, and
wow,
it's fun, right? I haven't missed a week since 2017. You guys know how much of an endurance event podcasting is. And just to highlight what a great community OCR has. I mean, I've interviewed a man that was 80, turning 83, and he's done like 300 races. So it's all shapes, sizes, ages, whatever. Yeah, come and try an event. It's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I was like I said, I was kind of emceeing and DJing. So then he turned the microphone on me. So, and then we kind of connected, and he's got a love of music. So I'm like, well, let's come on the show then. Let's
have a love of running yourself, Dean. That's why you're speaking so enthusiastically about this. This is a subject near and dear to your heart as well, right? I mean, you actually made. Let's plug Dean a little bit here. He actually made a documentary.
I did
a while back, which I still have, by the way.
about the Leatherman's
Loop. The Leatherman's Loop. He narrated it, put it together, edited it. It was fantastic. Yeah, I'd never heard of anything like that before, so it's very interesting to hear. Like I think of running as just running down a road, running down a street or whatever, or on a track or something. I never knew that there was these kinds of things with such endurance and to test your endurance and in the fields and in rocks and jumping over ponds and all that kind of stuff. I was very impressed that Dean himself would do these kinds of courses, and very proud of the guy. I mean, I don't think I could ever do it.
Yeah, and I did do 2 ultras. I did 2 ultras since we're kind of going there.
Yeah.
I want to get another one done, but I'm struggling with calling myself a retired trail runner. But I think I'm trying to work up to get one more, like one last, like the past his prime baseball player that wants one more shot at the big leagues. That's me. So in the meantime, we're doing this every week, and we've got Mike with us for top 5 one-hit wonders of the 70s. Started out quite easy, and then progressively became more heart-wrenching and ulcer-inducing for me. The more I thought about it, I should have stopped. But I didn't, and I couldn't, and I wouldn't. Mike, what about you? What about you?
Yeah, it was tricky trying to figure out like where do they really land on the Billboard Top 100, and I saw some that were kind of cheating, and I know you've called out people in the past, so I tried to make sure that these fit the criteria. So looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Yeah, we only put 2 guardrails on this because we didn't want it to get so obscure. We want people to also enjoy this, and also this playlist will be on Spotify. We'll share a link. So you can also hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Give us your picks, and we add it to the Spotify playlist, so we crowdsource it. Eric, the 2 guardrails were no, it was only one guardrail, really. It had to be a top 20 on the Billboard pop charts.
Yes.
So we didn't want to go, and the 70s, but we don't want to go too far afield of something like that hit number 70, and I liked it, but it would be too obscure.
Right. Yeah, so that kind of made it a little bit easier for me in the sense because I think pretty much all of my picks are at least in the top 10.
Okay.
But you were saying that, you guys were, kind of debating whether or not it's accurate or not. So maybe mine isn't. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I relied on Wikipedia for the most part. For everything I found is like, because they have that at the bottom of the page, they've got like the chart performance. So I just kind of, I relied on that. Before we get started, I've got a quiz question. We're not going to do a three truths and a lie or 3 lies and a truth, but I do have one quiz question. Which decade had the most one-hit wonders? The 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s? Mike, you're the sacrificial lamb, so you go first.
Oh boy. Well,
which decade had the most one-hit wonders? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
So on one hand, I feel like we're recording a 70s episode, so you want me to lean that way, but I feel like the 80s, there was a lot of weird stuff there.
Okay.
I'm going to end up going 80s.
80s. Okay. Eric, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s? Which decade had the most one-hit wonders?
You know what? I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm probably wrong, but 90s. I'm going to go with 90s. I don't know why, but for some reason, that could be the case. I don't know.
All righty.
Yeah.
The decade that had the most hit wonders was, Mike is correct, the 80s. Because of the influence of MTV and pushing all these weird things, a lot of weird acts charted that probably wouldn't have just because of the MTV effect. So Mike was absolutely right that the 80s had the most one-hit wonders pound for pound. I would have thought the 70s, especially after doing this list. But it was the 80s that had the most one-hit wonders. So Kudos to Haircut 100 and their song Love Plus One. Go ahead and look that up. That's a one-hit wonder for the 80s. I had that ready. Anyway, let's get cracking because we've got, if you've listened to our show before, we do our top 5, then we do some honorable mentions. And I'm betting dollars to donuts there's going to be some overlap. So I tried to guess my Eric's overlap and put it into my honorable mention hopper and keep that, but we'll see. Anyway,
what happens is when that does happen, our honorable mentions go into the top 5 because we end up switching the songs out. Yeah. So, but it's all good.
And then I say something, I say a song and he makes a face because it's like, oh, he picked that.
Got
one.
It. Or yeah.
The last top 5 we did, I think I got him. And I think Chris Clark got
I don't know who has the best poker face when it comes to this, so like if you do pick something, let's try to.
It was Rob DiStefano, not Mike Stefano, but Rob DiStefano had the best poker face with Big Log. I totally called it out and he didn't say anything. And then his number one. Anyway, let's get going. Eric, why don't you kick us off with the top 5 one-hit wonders from the 70s? These were all had to be a top 20 or better on the Billboard pop chart.
Okay. I never knew who actually did the song. So this one was a little bit hard to find for me because I just, it always reminded me of Van Morrison. The horn section, the sort of flow of the song, it kind of jumps, but Smoke from a Distant Fire, Sanford Townsend Band is the name of the band. And it peaked at number 9 in September of 1977. So yeah, it's that, Smoke from a Distant, and it has that, and it just reminds me of like a Van Morrison tune, so I always liked that song. Love the harmonies in it, but I don't think they've ever really done anything past that. I've never even heard of the band per se. I just thought it was maybe just a Van Morrison type of knockoff or something. But yeah, it
absolutely has that playfulness with the horns and the vocal is very Van Morrison-ish, but Morrison-ish, but it's also that same that generic, like so many bands that like Firefall or what, like Pablo Cruz, that kind of came through and you didn't know who it was, but they had the one song. Good. So Smoke from a Distant Fire. That's a good one. All right. Yeah. Mike, number 5. What are you going to uncork for your 5th one?
Yeah, I'm worried that some of these are going to be pretty basic, but things that definitely came to my mind. Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. In 1976, I learned a little bit more about them. They were originally a hard rock band, but brought it into disco. They reached number 7 in the UK, number 5 in the US, with 2.5 million copies sold in the US.
That's not too shabby especially for the 70s.
Right.
Play That Funky Music, White Boy, and then Mr. Ice, Vanilla Ice would cop that riff.
Yes, he would. Yep.
After he stole from Queen, then he.
Lots of legal issues, that guy.
What's that?
Said lots of legal issues with that guy, huh?
You know what? If you're selling that many copies of something, you're okay. I was just thinking about that the other day. It's like if you hit it right, it doesn't make a difference because you could just pay people off. You could say, "Oh, I'm sorry." Right? It's easier to apologize and ask for permission, and then you can say, "Well, here's some royalties." So you're still walking away with a boatload of money. So I thought about that the other day because there's so many songs that really sound like older songs, and then these people are getting sued, and it's probably a non-issue because these songs are making so much money that's like, whatever. Yeah. Sorry, oops.
But it's one of those things too. Like if you hear a song, your parents might have been listening to it, right? Or, you hear it and maybe it's stuck in the back of your head. Subconsciously, you're thinking you're creating something new, but it's there.
That is a phenomenon. I forget what it's called. Unconscious something or other.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be what happened to George Harrison with My Sweet Lord. When he wrote My Sweet Lord and he got sued for that. They're like, we don't think he was ripping off of what was it?
Oh my God.
He's so fine.
He's so fine by the Chiffons.
They're like, we don't think he was. It was but they believed it, but he still had to pay. But it wasn't intentional. So anyway, my number 5. I'm shooting a cannon shot out. This one might upset people, but I wanted to get it out of the way because I wanted to claim it. Kind of like we did with the metal episode. I want to get one big one out of the way. One of the greatest one-hit wonders of the 70s. The lead singer and the leader of the band decided not to sing this song because he thought his voice was too gravelly for it.
Okay.
So he had his backup singer come and sing "Fooled Around and Fell in Love." And it made Mickey Thomas into a star. The guy's got a voice like no one ever has.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of the most perfect vocal performances of any decade. He just owns the song. Elvin Bishop was right. Like, I should not sing this song. Let me get this guy to do it. And then it kind of catapulted him. Eric, did I get you? I think you're
no.
Okay.
No, but it's a great choice though. I mean,
So that was 1975. It hit number 3. And yeah, Mickey Thomas was just the backup vocalist. And after that, he parlayed that into joining Jefferson Starship, which became Starship, and had all those hits. But the guy has a voice, and he still has a voice. And one of the, if we ever did a top 5 vocalists, Mickey Thomas would be kind of in that range for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but a lot of these like 70s, like they had that same pitch and that, that sort of flair and, but fantastic choice.
He had the power, and he had the power. I mean, there's a lot of videos on YouTube of him doing it live at the time, and he just smokes it. I mean, he just absolutely destroys it.
And Elvin Bishop by trade, I mean, he's a guitar player and a blues guitar player to boot. He's known for playing a lot of and it was always kind of odd to me that this song is kind of not that. You know what I mean? So it's
very different.
I always thought that this can't be the singer. So because he did sound familiar, I always thought it was the guy from Starship.
Yeah,
and it turned out to be true. But it's like, I had no idea that that this guy played blues. It's like, wow,
that's Bishop. Yeah. He's a decent guitar player. So there we go. There's number 5 out of the way. Mike, how you feeling? You made it through the first round.
Yeah, feeling good.
You made it through.
One that's a little related to that, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay. Okay. He's already dropping hints. All right, Eric, what do you got for number 4?
Number 4, this song. I always love this song, but I found something out. This was a song that was written by Jerry Fuller, and it was first recorded by Johnny Mathis in 1972. I can't see it. I never heard it. I should have went and found it to listen to it, and it actually his version made it to number 36 on the easy listening chart, which suggests that it sounds nothing like Al Wilson's Show and Tell.
Oh my God, I almost picked that. I was listening to it 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
Literally 20 minutes ago, but
yeah. So this was, it actually reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 1 week in January of 1974. And it sold 2 million copies. Wow. Billboard ranked it as the number 15 song for 1974.
Nice.
For the year.
Soul song, right?
Oh, I love it. I think I might have picked it for our R&B episode, our top soul. No, did we?
I don't think so. It could have easily slotted in there, Show and Tell.
Yeah, but oh man, I love this song.
Yeah, I was literally.
But can you think of Johnny Mathis? Can you picture him doing this song?
Not at all.
I'm sure it sounds nothing.
I don't think I want to either.
No, I'm kind of afraid.
There's some things you can't unlisten to once you've heard them. I don't want to have that.
That's right.
I want the original. Well, not the original, but the version of Show and Tell that is just the killer one. All right, number 4, Mike. What do you got?
All right, my number 4 is one that gets a lot of hate for what the song is about. It's one of those songs that sounds very fun, and that's why I enjoy it. It's a fun song, and then when you start to look a little bit deeper, you realize, well, that's not a very good theme to the song whatsoever, and that is Escape, the Pina Colada song, which by Rupert Holmes, which peaked number 1 for a little bit in 1979.
Yep.
So I know what it's about, but it's still a very fun song, and it's a great song for karaoke. So
yeah, I love it, and a lot of people don't like it for that reason. Like it's just I can't believe it's such a stupid song. It's like a lot of women, I think, have that opinion of it. I think
it's about 2 awful people. I mean, the woman, the woman started it by putting the ad out. The guy also kind of didn't help himself by responding to the ad, but the woman was the aggressor first. She decided she wanted out, and then he's kind of feeling, well, this ain't for me. I'm going to go see what's out there. lo and behold, they ended up.
The intention is true. Like, oh, they found each other again. Maybe you could argue that, well, now we're going to be a better couple because, we lost something, but now we found it again. You could kind of sugarcoat it, but no, it's yeah.
Pre-swiping to the left and to the right. This is when you had to read the newspaper to find love.
Right.
It was
like the ads in, right?
You're looking for a car, you're looking for a job, and you're looking for someone to date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, it's a great show. Mike, do you do karaoke?
Yes, actually, fun fact, before obstacle course racing, I had a little stint with like a karaoke show that I did back in like high school, very long time ago. Wasn't very good, but it was a fun little thing to
get
myself out of my comfort zone.
You ever sing this song?
This one, not recorded, but yeah, hell yeah, definitely sing this song.
But there's no evidence. Is that what you're saying?
No, not for this one.
Oh, too bad.
No. You know what? We're gonna find it. We're gonna find it in an old attic or a salt mine. We're gonna find the abandoned tapes of Mike and all the stuff that was, and it's gonna be there. We're gonna clean it up and restore it.
We'll say they are on YouTube, so there is that.
Oh, see, see, now you did it. All right, my number 4. A song that I've always. This is a weird thing. Sometimes I really like a song, and then I wonder about the artist, and then I wonder why don't I listen to the rest of the album? Like, if I really like it that much, how come I'm not listening to this group?
Yeah,
right. I did it with this group. I did that recently, earlier this year. I'm like, I really like this song, so let me give the album a try. The rest of the album sounded nothing like it. The song was a one-off. I'm waiting for okay, we're going to get something like this, or even I don't know, parallel to it. Not exact, but the rest of the music was nothing like it. It's Jackie Blue by the Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
Okay.
I love this fucking song. It's just a really cool song from 1974, hit number 3, but it's an outlier. I went to the album. I'm like, I think I might be missing something on here. I'm not going to sleep on this. And I should have just slept through it because the album just was like Appalachian music. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it does not correlate. And even the record company, when this became a hit, they're like, okay, well, we want, Jackie Green and we want a Jackie Orange. Like they were like, the other stuff just wasn't like that. And then they got pissed off. They're like, well, that was the outlier for us. We normally do this kind of music.
Yeah.
So really strange, but Jackie Blue it's got a great guitar sound to it. It's kind of heavy. And then the drummer is the vocalist, and he wrote the song. He actually wrote it about, I think he said he wrote it about his drug dealer, initially inspired by his drug dealer, but then changed it to like a woman, a female thing. So Jackie Blue by the Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
Smashing Pumpkins does a great version of it on
really?
Pisces Iscariot. It's like a bunch of B-sides and things like that. So they do a really nice cover of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
No.
It was just me and Jackie Blue, but I guess there's other people. Eric, we're rolling through these. Number 3. Don't forget, everybody, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Give us your picks. Keep them in the top 20. If we have to play by the rules, so do you. We will add them to our crowdsourced Spotify playlist. We put the links in everywhere in the show notes, plus on our socials, so you can have it and say, hey, I participated. I helped make this playlist. So, Eric, number 3.
So I know for a fact that I've chosen this song before in one of our other top 5s, but I couldn't help it.
What the hell are you doing?
Because I love the song. I always have, and it's Vehicle by the Ides of March. And it actually has that kind of feel to it. And again, I'm not surprised by this, but it does say that it had a very distinctive horn section riff, which caused some listeners to mistake the band for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And that's who I always thought it was, but it's not. So the song actually went to number 2 on the Billboard, reaching the top 5 in Canada. And this was 1970. So yeah, that's but I always loved that the grittiness of the song. I don't even know what the hell the song's about. Yeah. It's some pretty touchy-feely things there too, I'm sure. But they, of course, people have used it in car commercials and things like that. I think sporting events too. It's like it has that, right. Yeah.
I'm your vehicle, baby. I can see why people would think it's Blood, Sweat, and Tears, because David Clayton Thomas from Blood, Sweat, and Tears has that raspy vocal too, and it was around the same time, and it's just kind of like, I guess it's the same.
And it was used in the Stallone movie where he's a prisoner, where he's in prison. Lockup, and they're building a Mustang. They're like refurbishing a Mustang, and they play the song while they're like, building the car. So, which is not what the song's about. It's about something totally different. Yeah. So, but there you go. That's my number 3.
Vehicle making the second appearance on the top 5. That was. It wasn't the psychedelic hit. It wasn't top 5 psychedelic. It was
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. It was so early on. That was one of our first.
It might have been top 5 feel good songs. I think maybe you liked it for that. I forget.
Maybe.
Anyway. One of you guys will have to go listen to all of our top 5s and tell us which one it was on. In the meantime, Mike, number 3. What do you got?
So this is something that has something in common with your number 5. They were both featured in Guardian of the Galaxy's Awesome Mix because they're great songs. Come and Get Your Love by Redbone. Just the opening guitar, everything about that song. I love it. It's such a great one. Number 4 in 1974.
Yeah. Easy to love that song.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And James Gunn really kind of took a lot of these songs and really kind of brought them to the forefront and made them pop culture references now, and where these would have languished, for older guys like us, we would have been listening to them, but he kind of took them out of the dustbin, right? And polished them off. Although, Fooled Around and Fell in Love, Eric, we remember this from Boogie Nights though, too. Remember?
Oh yeah. That
when
Nina Hartley
dives into the pool and it's playing. Like using these songs for soundtracks. Some people, it can almost get to be too much sometimes, but I also appreciate bringing them back and exposing these artists to a new generation, right?
Yeah. It was also cool too how it was featured in the plot too. Like these are the cassette tapes that his mom had left him, and I just thought it was a really cool vehicle to let's have a kick-ass soundtrack. And it is my favorite movie soundtrack now for obvious reasons, but I beat out one that I'll get to later that has another.
Awesome. And then in Endgame we get to see an alternate view of the Guardians of the Galaxy open without the music, just with Peter Quill dancing and spinning and just looking like an idiot. and singing and take the music away, and you see what it's really like. And I loved about
Rhodey's reaction. So he's an idiot. So he's an idiot.
What's the name? Yes. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
All right. My number 3. Here we go. Another. I bought the cassette of this artist when the album came out for this song back in 1979, but I never listened to anything else except for it was the opening track, and that's all I ever did. Okay? Another case, much like Ozark Mountain Daredevils, it was only into the 2000s that I'm like, I had this cassette. I only ever listened to one song. Let me listen to the rest of the album, and it was fantastic. It was a total opposite of the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Romeo's Tune by Steve Forbert, 1979 it came out in December of 1979, so we're right on the edge there. It hit number 11. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, Romeo's Tune. And I never listened to I was that kid. I would buy stuff just for the one song, and it was like, I don't know, the mid 2000s. But let me listen to the rest of the album. It's fantastic. It was everything I hoped like other records would be after that.
Right.
And it really was good. He had that Springsteen-ish introspective kind of thing, but he had his own take on it, and the rest of the album matched that. So I really loved, the experience was like, wow. It was almost like a hidden treasure. I bought it, never listened to it, and then picked it up on vinyl when I got into vinyl in like 2015, but I had it on my Zune. If you want a Guardians of the Galaxy reference, it was on my Zune back in 06 and 07. But yeah, Romeo's Tune is just one of those. It's got that opening piano riff and just a great bouncy song, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
By the way, if you're listening to this podcast on a Zune, please write in because there might be someone out there.
I'm about, I don't know, 5 feet from a Zune. It's in a drawer, but I was all in on Zunes. I had the brown one, I had the black one, I had this little Zune one, but anyway. We'll do a dead technology episode, Eric, at one point.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Sure.
Top 5 dead tech items. We are racing towards number 1. We are up to number 2. Eric, what do you got for your top 5 one-hit wonders of the 70's?
This song it's near and dear to my heart. I'm a huge John Denver fan from back in the day. He actually launched this band. He kind of presented them going. Bill Danoff was actually, they were part of his band, his backing band. And they wrote some songs together. So this song came out in 1976, Starland Vocal Band's Afternoon Delight. It's one of those things though, where the rest of the album is kind of so-so. It's very, mediocre. It's good stuff, I guess. It's very John Denver-ish. Without John Denver. But without him, it's, it's kind of bland. But this song always, I don't know. I just love it. It's corny. It's, it says what it says. There's no hiding what it means and what the song's about, but it just, I remember that year. It was a great summer that year. I mean, it was the bicentennial. I remember the ships coming up the Hudson and the whole bit. And this song was played over and you hear it on the radio every 20 minutes or so, and it went to number 1 in July of 1976. And I think it stayed there for a few weeks,
yeah.
But it was a monster for that year. And I just, to this day, I hearing that opening strum of the guitar, I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. And of course, Anchorman kind of did it dirty, but not so much. But no, but they kind of honored it, and it was some really nice harmonies from those guys. I couldn't believe it, But yeah, they did
it with love.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
that was a great scene. You guys kept your head on a swivel.
And that's a great soundtrack, by the way. Another great. A lot of these kinds of songs are on that soundtrack too. So, but yeah, great tune. Yep.
Stay classy, Eric.
You too.
Stay classy. San Diego. All right, number. That was your number 2, right?
That was my number 2. Yeah,
number 2. Right. Wow. That made an appearance on another top 5. That was in top 5 feel good songs, I think.
Was it? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry.
These are multi-tool. These are multi-tool songs. They fit a lot of different things. I had many that I was slotting in. I'm like, oh man, But then I knew at some point we were going to do an episode like this, so I saved a lot of things that I would have used on other episodes because I'm like, here's where they're going to get better or get better exposure. And but we'll see. Number 2, Mike. What do you got? Well, let me ask you before you go any further. Are these in any type of order, or did you just kind of fill them out?
I came up with a list at first, and then I tried to come up with a ranking of them.
Okay.
And then I double checked that they were in the parameters too.
Okay.
After that. Also, it's going to be really tough for you guys after having so many episodes to try to not double dip, because I remember listening to the one of songs with colors in the title. And I'm like, where's that ELO bell? And then you said, we specifically didn't say.
I used it elsewhere. So I try and kind of, if somebody else uses it, I'm never going to stop them. I'm never going to stop anybody from putting ELO in a list, but I'm going to.
Happiest song. Love it.
But that would mean we won't have part 2s also. Some like this, we could easily do a part 2 and 3 and continue. But for now, number 2, what's it going to be, Mike?
Yeah. So my number 2, I guess another love song, but this one actually like a true love song, reached number 12, Billboard year-end Hot 100 singles of 1972. Brandy, You're a Fine Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I love this song. I loved the song when I was a kid, listening to it with my grandfather, who introduced me to like lots of great music back then. Every time it comes on, it's such a pleasure to listen to. So yeah, number 2.
Yeah. Also made a major plot point in Guardians 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Was not my intention, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, actually, I think one of the only songs where they really break it down, right? Kurt Russell just like, this is the greatest song ever written, right?
Yeah,
and I'm inclined to agree. Or the way he describes it, anyway, you could, why not? So
yeah, but even before that, it's again another underrated song that I'm glad gets brought to the forefront because there was so much great stuff, and there's a generation gap, and music comes out so quickly and is consumed so differently today than it was when we would listen to this. So I'm glad that movie soundtracks is a way to present this music because probably the younger people today are not going to listen to an oldies station where they would hear that. But you go to a Marvel film or you go to a DC or whatever, and these songs are in there, and then they become needle drop moments, right? And then people are like, oh, what is that? That's kind of catchy. And, oh, it's from 72. Oh, that's my grandmother's, or whatever. It's like, but it's music is great no matter when it comes out. But it's the longer we're on the timeline, the more this stuff gets pushed back, and kind of gathers a little dust. So I'm happy that kind of stuff gets kind of reused. And sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that song. And then I'm like, oh, go back and listen to it. So my number 2. This was interesting. This group recorded. They're from France or from Paris. I don't know that if they're French, but that's where they kind of formed. Recorded an album, recorded a single, and then broke up 6 months later. And then the record company picked up the single, and it became a hit. Dancing in the Moonlight by King Harvest.
Great tune.
Dancing in the Moonlight, everybody. Anyway, 1972, hit number 13. Again, it probably could have fit in the Yacht Rock episode, I'm sure. Huh? Again, a lot of these songs are multi-tool songs, but it's just one of those mellow songs. I just kind of, it's got that mellow vibe to it that only the 70s had. The 70s had a kind of laid back, really chill, not I don't give a shit, but just kind of everything's cool. Like everything's great. Like it's awesome. Like a lot of the music was just kind of like that. Like it was just kind of like, yeah, dancing in the moonlight,
Yeah.
We don't fuss and we don't fight. We keep it loose. It's like, yeah, that's the way it really was. It was kind of like music.
You hit it right on the head there. It's like the vibe was where it was at. And yeah, somebody could write a song about people having sex or write a song about something like escape or something like, but the vibe is there. It was the mood of the time, that really sold it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
And I love the name of the group, King Harvest. It's just I'm afraid to go. Like I think I want to go listen to more of these guys, but I'm afraid because I've been.
It almost sounds like a metal band, right?
It does sound like a metal band,
yeah, like King Diamond, or something. I got burned by the Ozark Mountain Daredevil, so I'm afraid that King Harvest might do me dirty also. So I don't want to. And they only made one album and broke up, so I'm not even sure I want to get involved. It's like like what if it's really good, and then I'm like pissed off that there's nothing else,
that's why they call it a one-hit wonder. Yeah. Sometimes it's just that. It's just the one song, and that's it.
Yeah, they said fuck it. They didn't even get to they got promoted after they broke up. These guys were like fuck it, and then the record company, well, we'll take it, we'll promote it, and then it became. I don't even know if these guys regrouped to cash in on it, or there's very little written about it. So it was just kind of like, all right,
there it is. Great tune. Yeah. You hear it all the time. Even now, it's like, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's very chill, very chill. So here we are. We're at number 1, the pinnacle. I know Eric doesn't do ordering. He just kind of lets it flow. Yeah. So this is, unless sometimes he specifically says this is it, and he hasn't done that. So
no, this is not one of those times.
We're gonna we do have honorable mentions coming up.
Another song. You know what? Now that I think about it, I think I picked too many songs that I finally used, double dipped, but I can't help it. I mean, another song that I heard all the time growing up as a kid was, and of course, Dean and I love the Bee Gees. They wrote this song. Mm-hmm. You know where I'm going with this. There was this Australian singer named Samantha Sang, and she did a cover of their song "Emotion," which went to, I believe, it was number 2.
Yeah,
in 78, and it was a number 14 song of the year on Billboard Hot 100. That
what year was that again?
1978.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but great song. I just love her version, and it's essentially the Bee Gees anyway. You really don't even need to hear if they even recorded their own version. Did they? I don't think so.
I think sure. Barry wrote it, or Barry and Robin wrote it.
They wrote it, but they're on it. But they also sing on it. So it's essentially the Bee Gees with a female singer singing it. But I've never heard anything else by her ever again after this. I don't think I remember seeing her on like Midnight Special or all these old shows and stuff, and quite attractive, easy on the eyes, but after that, I never again did I ever see her, never heard it from her. It's like, it's kind of bizarre just how
I guess we could say Samantha sang.
Wow. Hey, we're laughing. You got us laughing. I don't know why you're chirping. So
I was expecting silence, so I had the chirp. I had the crickets on hand. I opened the jar and they just started. That was, what? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when that song came out, I think I did a quick hit on it. Barry Gibb was on an incredible run of either singing on stuff, writing stuff, and he had like I think he dominated the top 5 between stuff he did with the Bee Gees, Samantha Sang, and Andy Gibb, because he was writing for him. And I believe there's a run in 78 that and then he wrote the title track for Grease that Frankie Valli sang. There was a point where he was on a fucking tear that is unheard of writing for other artists and getting number ones out of it, and then writing for the Bee Gees and getting number ones out of it. And then he did the whole thing with Barbra Streisand. He did the Guilty album. The guy does not get the credit. Barry, everyone knows Barry did the falsetto and they make fun of him. Guy was a masterful songwriter of the Bee Gees, production. He was a multi-tool player, and people don't realize what he was doing. Like he was dominating like 77 and 79. And of course Tragedy, which has got that great.
And this song was actually intended for, I didn't know this, but it was intended for use in Saturday Night Fever. But it ended up in another movie with Joan Collins called The Stud. Never heard of that one, but no, but there you go. But no, I remember I could fall asleep to this song, and just be like dreaming, like it has the vocal has that breathy vocal to it. It's just like, it's like sort of puts you in that state of like, again,
what was the name 70s. What was the name of the movie that was in again?
The Stud.
Not quite Saturday Night Fever. Sorry. I'm using the board. The board is coming in. Joan Collins. Come on. Star Trek, City on the Edge of Forever. That's all you need to know about Joan Collins.
There you go.
and Dynasty, but but beyond that. All right, Mike, so your number one has been carefully thought out. You arranged your list. You brought this one to the top this is the cream of the crop for you.
Yeah. So when we met, I told you about the importance of music and how it can bring you back to a time when you were first listening to it. And I told you that 70s were very big for me because that meant like cleaning the house, and cleaning sucks. And so you put on some 70s, it makes it fun. And this is a song that would always come on and I would love it. I'd get down with my bad self. Didn't realize it was about sex until later. Ring My Bell by Anita Ward.
Yes.
1979, written by Frederick Knight for Stacey Ladisaw.
Yes, Stacey Ladisaw was a soul singer.
Okay. And then it reached number 9. So
yeah.
Big fan of that song. It just quintessential disco, and I love it.
Ring My Bell was big. Height of the disco era, right, Eric?
Yeah, classic tune. Yeah,
all that stuff was just rolling out. There was a new disco song coming out like every week. There was something new that was danceable, and and Anita Ward was right in there. So Ring My Bell is that's the peak.
I love it. I know a lot of these seem kind of like
it's great. I looked. It was kind of circling the outside as I looked at a lot of like Spotify playlists to get ideas too. I'm kind of like trolling through things, and it came up a few times. I'm like, oh, I was like, oh.
a good one.
Yeah, but I do have a woman for number one. Eric should be able to predict it if he doesn't know it. He
Mhm.
knows it. My number one is my number one of all time. Nothing will ever change. This is the greatest song of the 70s. I absolutely love it. It takes me back to when I first heard it as a kid. It's jazzy. It's got one of the greatest vocals, but it's also one of the best produced songs ever. Midnight at the Oasis from Maria Muldaur.
Mhm.
Another person, I bought this album. I'm like, I want more. I didn't get more. She sang like everything was old timey songs other than
A lot
this
of covers
outlier.
on that
Yeah,
record
just kind of weird old timey stuff and banjo-y and like weird. I don't care. This song is it. It's got innuendo. That's great. That's fine. But I love it for her vocal performance. The guitar work on it is I forgot who it was. I didn't write it down, but it was a jazz guitarist that they got to do all the fills. 1974 hit number 6. She never had another hit again. But oh my God, it's the perfect combination of vocalist and production and everything I love about music, about greatly produced stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It checks off all the boxes for me. I absolutely love it. I've loved it since I was a kid. It will never change. I've been waiting for this. This is the song I've been waiting this list for. It was never going to go on any other list as much as I wanted it to. It's this song. It's this list.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Right. Midnight at the Oasis.
Yeah.
Sultry, jazzy. It's got everything to it. And you know what? In a weird way, Mike, I hope it's never used in a movie because I want it for. I'm being selfish.
Selfish, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, I'm sure Maria Muldaur would love to kind of have it resurge and become a hit, but in a way, I want it for myself. Like kind of like that's how I feel about it. Is like I don't want it to get too big. I don't want to hear it everywhere. I want to hear it, in my space, but
yeah,
not on my space because that website doesn't exist anymore, but in my space. So that's been the top 5. We've got plenty of time. So we've got Mike, you have honorable mentions.
yes.
You have ones that didn't quite. Were your honorable mentions ever in the list and then you took them out, or were they ever? Okay, so you're a true top 5 creator. Then is that they're in and then something bumps them and kind of comes out again. So all right, these are in no particular order. So Eric, what do you got for what one was circling the drain but didn't kind of flood?
I don't know if it was ever going to be in the top 5, but I don't think. But it's corny. But I'm a stickler for actors turned singers, actors turned directors. And he sadly passed away early of this year. David Soul, and don't give up on his baby. What can I say? I mean, it's a great song. It's Hutch, from Starsky and Hutch. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid. Loved him in Salem's Lot, the one of my favorite early horror films, like made for TV, Stephen King vampire story. He was great in that. He was a good actor, underrated. I always loved seeing him. And he kind of sadly, he kind of fell out of favor, I guess, in later years, but and then just
it hit number 1, right?
It did hit number 1.
Yeah, and it was like it was like a big deal.
This was 76, and it was Uncharted. I mean, it was number 29 on the Billboard Hot 100 for the year, and then of course 22 on the Billboard Adult Contemporary.
Yeah.
For that year. So yeah,
very gentle song, very gentle
little tune. He had a great voice.
Yeah.
I mean, he would actually perform concerts. I don't know what else he did. I don't know if this. I mean, what was the rest? I don't know what the album was like. But I how long was this show? I wonder. He probably had to have done a lot of covers and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But who knows? Maybe Paul Michael Glazer came out and they did a duet of some sort.
Huggy Bear.
Yeah, Antonio Fargas. But
they brought the car out.
And Wilson did a nice version in the reboot. And Todd Phillips, Starsky and Hutch, he did a nice little homage to that. I thought that was great. that he actually performed the song. He's, it just takes you back. And again, it's corny, but I'm a big fan of Korn, from the 70s, that is, so yeah, I'll take it all. So there it is. It's one of my,
you talk about corny, the 70s were also the era of like the novelty song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those things, and I was tempted a few times to throw some novelty songs on because there was a lot. We could do a whole episode because it was a popular thing and people bought the records and they charted and it was quirky or weird and funny. And you don't really see that stuff anymore. You don't really see stuff that's meant to be comedic,
right?
And not meant to be a serious song and not meant to make a statement, but just to be like this weird thing. But anyway, like Convoy and that's even on the lighter. That's even not even that, kind of quirky, But anyway, what do you got, Mike? What do you got for an honorable?
Yeah, so this is one that I thought would I haven't listened to this one in a while. Maybe it's top 5, and then I listened to it, and it was a little bit more repetitive for my taste, but it's still like a classic when I think of 70s. But "Seasons in the Sun" by Terry Jacks peaked in number 2 in 1974, and still a great song, great voice. But I listened to it, and it's like, oh no, he's still going. So it kind of bumped it out of the top 5 a little bit there.
Yeah, if you don't listen to that and Alone Again naturally and feel something, you're dead inside. You're a husk of a human being.
That's right.
You're an empty shell if you can't listen to "Seasons in the Sun." And even if you get that's what it is. He keeps saying, goodbye, Papa, goodbye to this. He's saying goodbye to everybody, right? Basically, he's kind of. But then I remember when I heard that one. Yeah, I heard that. Unfortunately, when it came out. And it's sad. It's a sad song.
It really is a sad song, and it always gave me
had "Seasons in the Sun," and now I'm.
You're like what? You're 7, 8 years old in the 70s, and you hear a song like that. It's guys talking about dying. It's like wow, it made you feel weird inside. But again.
It's not Levitating by Dua Lipa,
But again, there was just it didn't seem to be any boundaries about songwriting back then. They just wrote about anything, and that's one of the great things about that era.
Cat's in the Cradle. The guy's got no time for his kid,
right? Yeah,
scumbag father. Then he wants time with the kid. And the kid's like, "Fuck you! All right, give me the keys. Give me the keys to the car. I'm leaving. Probably go to drink underage." Right? I mean, So it was kind of like all that stuff was just, everybody's problems were made into songs.
Right. Yeah.
My first honorable mention actually was in the list very briefly, and then I took it. I'm like, but it's simple. Chuck E's in Love by Ricky Lee Jones.
Great choice.
1979, hit number 4, jazzy. Eric, did you know how many people go look this song up? I can't. I don't even have my tablet here. Everybody and their mother is on this. Michael McDonald, Steve Gadd, Willie Weeks, Jeff Porcaro, like you name it from that 70s session, late 70s session era. And they were on this song or they were on her debut album.
This could be a yacht rock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure. She was dating Tom Waits at the time.
Okay.
So they had a friend, Chuck E. I think his name is Weissman. So the three of them used to pal around, and the guy disappeared for a few months. And then one day he called Ricky Lee Jones, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in Denver. I left. I met a woman." And so Ricky Lee Jones got off the phone and said to Tom Waits, "Chuck E's in love," because he disappeared. In the song, she kind of twists it that it's about her, but that she just changed that. But it is about a real guy and a real event. Just a really great vocal, kind of again, really kind of jazzy, and I just love that great production. And you got all those studio pros just laying it down, so you're not going to miss. What's his name? Randy Newman also plays on it. So you got everybody. It's like the Avengers of West Coast studio musicians. It's like the fucking X-Men.
Speaking of yacht rock, have you seen that documentary on
Not
Netflix?
yet. I gotta watch that. I gotta watch the Beatles one too. The Beatles 64. It's on Disney Plus, and then I gotta watch the yacht. Well, funny thing. Well, did you hear about Donald Fagen and the yacht rock?
Yes.
So they
play it in the documentary. They actually
they call him up, right, and say, hey, we were doing a documentary about, we want to use your music, and he's like, they're like, well, he's like, what is it about? It's like yacht rock. He's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
and hangs up, but then he lets him license the songs.
Yeah.
So was he being crotchety, Donald Fagen, or was he really angry?
Guy, like you see the footage of the guy making the phone call and Donald Fagen answering the phone. So he's just laughing. He's like, I think he just hung up on me. He's like starts laughing, But that's I could see Fagen totally absolutely doing that. Yeah, but that's really what the document. It's like it's actually kind of contained, but session players play a big role in the whole thing. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right, you got another while you're on a roll. Then you got another honorable.
I do. Number one, for 3 consecutive weeks in January 14th, the week of January 14th, the 21st, and the 28th of 1978, and number 10 on the R&B charts in 1978. "Baby Come Back." By Playa.
Here.
Yeah. So great. This almost made the top 5. This came very close, but what can you say? Just another great tune. I'm surprised they didn't use this on Guardians. I wish it were on that soundtrack, because this is one of the air songs of that era. I think,
Taylor.
Yep. Absolutely. Love it. Yep. And it has that, and of course, again, yacht rock has that vibe. It has that groove. And, it's just it's a great one. So,
smooth sounding. It's just I'm telling you, that there was such a vibe. Not that we were like old people; we were kids, but you still felt it. It still just kind of felt like all this stuff was just kind of, all these songs came out, and everybody was listening to it, and it was just kind of everything was just kind of cool. It was all right,
That's the thing of it, the naivete of being a kid in the 70s. It's like you didn't think about terms like adult contemporary or anything like that, or like AM radio. What's the difference between AM and FM, right? You later on you start getting into more rock and harder stuff, but to me this was just music. This was great music, so I don't look back on it and say, that song doesn't hold up or whatever. I just love it all.
Yeah. And there was cigarette commercials on TV.
Yeah.
Marlboro Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Smoking a cigarette and riding a horse on over the mountains. Anyway, Mike, give us
where the hell did that come from?
Because I don't want everyone to think that it was so great in the 70s. I mean, there was
no.
It was a dirty underside. It was an underbelly.
Of course, it was.
Marlboro Man.
Yeah. So I got one that was. This was hard to bump out, but I ended up bumping out because it technically came out in 1969. Also on a great soundtrack, Remember the Titans, which I think is my second favorite soundtrack of all time. But yeah, since it was 1969, I figured it was kind of cheating, but it didn't chart until 1970.
All right.
And it's peaked at number 5, and it's Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. Great song. And it's so tied with that movie for me mentally too, that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good one-hit wonder of the time.
Classic riff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when that song opens, it can be nothing else but that.
You're in for a good time. Yeah.
And the most unrock and roll name, Norman Greenbaum.
Yeah. It's been used a lot in sound. It's actually on the Guardian soundtrack, but it's not in the movie.
Is it really?
I think they used it for the trailer, if I'm not mistaken, at the times, but it is on the soundtrack. They did include it. So, but yeah.
I think
it was on Apollo 13 too. I think Ron Howard used it on that soundtrack too. Yeah.
Actually, I heard there's a cover version in the 80s that I heard first by a group called Doctor and the Medics.
Yes.
And they did a version of Spirit in the Sky. I heard that one first, and I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of 80, this is kind of retro-y for the 80s, and they were kind of a gothy looking band. And I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of weird and kind of funky. And then I was like, oh no, this was it was a cover, but I heard the Doctor and the Medics version first.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I did write it peaked again, number 1. Got a lot of UK stats. I don't know why, but number 1 in UK, 1986 with Doctor and the Medics, and then again in 2003 with Gareth Gates.
Okay.
Yeah. Not as familiar with him too, but people just remaking that song, trying to make it amazing.
See, I get to keep my 80s street cred by you don't get much more obscure than Doctor and the Medics, for crying out loud.
Yeah. That's a horrible name.
It's
Well, yeah, I guess.
It doesn't really mean a doctor and the medics. Like, all right. Anyway, my next one. This one was in the top 5 the whole way, and I pulled it out only because I thought Eric might grab it. So I'm like, yeah, let me, I can kind of pull it out, and it's "Moonlight Feels Right" by Starbuck.
Yeah.
1975 hit number 3. The only hit song with a marimba solo. Right? It sounds like the xylophones,
Yeah.
I love
amazing.
That. It's another like easygoing song. I wrote that, it's the prototype of yacht rock. The funny thing about it quickly is that they were trying to get this thing going. It hit in 1975. They were trying to promote it in 1974. And all these stations were like, yeah, we'll play it. It was like August of 74. And no one was playing it, but there was a station in Alabama when they got it and listened to it. They're like, this is like a spring type song.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to play it in August for some reason. So they shelved it, but they kept their promise and they started playing it the next year, and it took off. And that marimba solo was the first take. They did it, and they're like, let's keep it because we're not sure it's ever going to get any better, or you're going to be able to do it again. Like
fantastic solo.
So much going on in that marimba solo. Yeah, it's like all the runs, like like it's like what? And then the guy laughing under his breath, and like after the first verse, and then I think the third verse, whatever. Again, it's just got. It's just that mellow sound. It's just like you can't help but kind of feel good. It could have been a feel good song also easily. Yeah. But yeah, the "Moonlight Feels Right" by Starbuck, and Eric, I guess they would reuse that for Battlestar Galactica. They probably said, you know what, that's a good character name. Glenn Larson was probably like, we got a show coming out in 2 years. Let's use Starbuck.
Could be, yeah. Yep.
And then they got Apollo from Rocky. They just stole everything Battlestar Galactica. All right, you got another one, Eric? We can do maybe one or two more. You have Mike. How many do you have?
I have 1, 2, 3 more.
Okay, so we're good. We'll keep going. We got time.
All right. So from 1974, the great kung fu fighting Carl Douglas. It charted very well. In fact, it was number 1 in the UK, number 1 in the US. It was number 3 on the US Hot Disco single. Hot Soul single was number 1. Yeah, this was a monster. And again, another great needle drop for quite a few films too. So, but
do you count this as novelty?
I think so.
I was thinking that
so,
too.
But yeah, for sure. But
it kind of has a story to it, so it's not. It kind of skirts the line a little bit, right? It's kind of
yeah. But it's catchy, man. It's
I
mean, it has that, it's got nice grooves, and I think that what makes it kind of puts it over that edge is that that stuff going on. But he could have done without that and just sang the lyric, and it would have been perfectly fine as a great
funky guitar in it, though.
Funky guitar, R&B kind of thing, and it kind of it might have been the proto Rick James type stuff like thing, or like he can get a little out there too with that kind of left field kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, if they made a music video, you see on the picture. I've had the picture of the single in front of me. It's him in
Here's the outfit, the gi.
So
he wears like a red gi.
He's definitely selling that, but it's just and maybe cashing in on the whole Bruce Lee thing. Yeah. I mean, it was huge. That kung fu was huge in the 70s, right? Everybody was the nunchucks, and everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan, or so. Yeah.
But, I think him dressing up for performances, that puts it into novelty.
Yeah.
Right. I did martial arts for a long time, and I could not escape that. So people play it all the time. I'm like, I don't do kung fu, but I get the joke. You can stop playing that song now.
We're done. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
For the 80th time.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, give us another honorable mention.
Yeah, so now I have 2 now. So that was the first overlap. I think we went a good time without an overlap.
You had that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I had "Moonlight Feels Right" as one of mine. Too, right. So that's 2.
Touche.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I also have from 1970, "Ride Captain Ride" by Blues Image.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's another classic one to me that I think of. And when I saw that on the list, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I remember that song. I listened to it again, and it was just as I remembered it.
Yeah, it holds up.
Yeah.
That song absolutely holds up. It's one of those one. Yeah, I don't remember it as much like when it came out as I do like hearing it a lot later. Like or I may have kind of heard it but not really recognized it, and then it wasn't until much later I'm like, oh, this was from the 70s. And I was like, and then I looked out, I was like, Ride, it was like, yeah, Ride Captain Ride. It's like, of course, had to be from the 70s. Had to be.
Yeah.
Blues Image. I mean, also the group names too.
Yeah.
We're kind of like the whole.
That's kind of skirting the whole like psychedelic vibe, I think, late 60s there. You're just right over the edge there. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, he went with Spirit in the Sky too. So we see his leanings are kind of a little psychedelic. He's got a little hippie in him.
Yeah.
There's a little bit there. This one is probably the most obscure by far, but I totally forgot about this song. I totally forgot this song existed until about 2 years ago. And it randomly came up in my Spotify and I'm like, oh my God. I haven't heard this since I was a kid. And I totally, I like to pride myself that I pretty much remember like most songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up. I'm like, I can't believe I totally forgot this song. It's called Third Rate Romance by the Amazing Rhythm Aces. Came out in 1975. It hit number 14. It was a country crossover hit. Again, this is probably the most obscure I'll ever get. But it was a hit. I wanted to verify because I knew it was a country, because my parents used to listen to a lot of country music for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
My Italian father, and my Irish mother listening to country music in New York. I don't get it. But I was assuming that I heard it there. I'm like, I probably must have heard it there because it was a country hit. But then I looked up and it hit number 14. It's just a very simple kind of song, very simple tale, but it's got some tasty guitar work. There's kind of like the way, Eric, the way Sultans of Swing has like little guitar licks in between.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like that. There's like little licks and little guitar phrases in between like the verses, which is nice. It's got a very tasty guitar solo. So I don't expect a lot of people to know it, but I think everybody will enjoy it.
I have to check it out. My uncle was like that too. He was always listening to country music, on the way
it was
shooting range, and he used to go up into the Poconos and all that kind of. But but those was a lot of crossover hits, right? I mean, a lot of country artists kind of, giving it that pop vibe. The production standards, of course, were.
Dolly Parton was good for that. In the 70s.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What we got? One more. We got one more in this, right? Let's do one more. All right, Eric. One more. What do you got?
All right. So my last one will be come on, The Hustle, Van McCoy. 1975. This thing again. U.S. Billboard Hot 100, it was number 1. Hot Soul, number 1. Adult Contemporary, number 2. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it you're talking about New Zealand, number 5 in New Zealand for that year. I mean, South Africa, number 5. This was a monster. Yeah, this was a worldwide thing. I mean, Germany, number 3. Ireland, number 5. This was, the chart is huge on this one. But man, I remember this was a phenomenon when this song came out. You would hear it, you would see it, you'd see people like the whole, when anytime anybody, like a newscaster was talking about disco, this was the song that they would play, and you'd see the people on the dance floor. I mean, it's like right out of Saturday Night Fever, but this always was.
Yep.
The go-to tune, I think, for that.
This was the dance that everybody did. Nobody could dance like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. The Hustle was the dance that everybody did.
Yeah, right.
That was the kind of that brought everybody on the floor. It was a group. It was a dance that everybody lined up and did, and kind of like a precursor to line dancing. Everybody got on the floor and was in row, and you do the Hustle.
Yep,
and it was just huge.
Also, just a great opening to that song, too.
Mm-hmm.
You can only imagine that on the dance floor, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Mike, one more.
Yeah, so my last one, closing out with some more disco, but I love The Nightlife by Alicia Bridges, 1978.
It was on the list. Took it off.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, Alicia Bridges. Oh,
classic one. Again, goes back to Ring My Bells. One of those songs I would play. I'm like, oh yeah, this absolutely takes me back as a kid, and yeah, heavy nostalgia for these picks. But that's a good one.
yeah. I want some action.
She had a very very strange voice, but
Yeah,
but
very
it worked.
distinctive. Yeah, very
Quirky, yeah.
distinctive. Yeah, Alicia Bridges. I want some action. But it's so catchy. I had it. I used to love that song because it has that feel to it. It has that like that disco nightlife feel to it.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in the city or something, and kind of driving through the city or going to a club. Not that I was going to a club at any age then, but it's kind of like it felt like that. It felt like you were there and involved in it. It was like
Studio 54.
romantic.
You would see like images of that, and you hear that song. What was the movie that it was featured in? It was the vampire movie with George Hamilton.
Love at First Bite.
Yes, and Susan St. James. Yeah, they played. That was the song from off of that soundtrack. I remember. Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question, because I was going to put one on my list, but they had it. The group had it. I didn't put it on the list, but the group had another hit. They had they had one hit in the 70s, and then they had a hit in the 80s. Would I have been lying to myself if I put Boogie Oogie Oogie on the list? Get that song, Get Down,
Yeah.
Boogie Oogie Oogie. But they hit again in the 80s, so they really weren't a one-hit wonder. They were in a decade, but
yeah, they were in the 70s. I think that would count. I think I could see that being a stretch, but I think that would count as a one-hit wonder.
I just didn't want to be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Be called out and be like, well, they did have another
Well,
hit.
I mean, if we're going to go there, then any number of these songs we just mentioned have become hits again.
No, but I meant the group had another hit. No, but the group had another hit in the following decade.
Oh, I see what you're. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
technically they had one hit in the 70s, but anyway, that is neither here nor there, because my final pick is "I Can Help" by Billy Swan.
Oh, what a great tune!
1974 hit number one. Again, crossed over from the country charts.
Yeah.
That he's using it's called a farfisa organ.
I love
you hear throughout the whole thing. Which kind of grounds the song.
It makes the song. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just kind of, it's just kind of this organ. He's not playing notes on the organ. He's just playing chords and just kind of holding it. Almost like a church organ, where it's just like, brr, 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 like that type of thing. Again, very easygoing vocal. It's like, you need something, I can help. Your child needs a daddy, I can help. It's just a really great song. And then, if you, on Spotify, we're going to have the full version, because when it was on the radio, it was cut. The full version is actually two false endings. It kind of fades out,
and then it comes back.
And they're kind of, and he's holding the guitar, he's holding the chord on the organ, and then they kind of come back and they play like another refrain of the instrumental, and then it ends again, and he's still holding the chord on the farfisa, and then they play it again, and it fades out.
You hear people clapping as if it were live.
Yeah, as if they were in the studio, like
but it was featured in Thor, the first Thor movie. So if we're going there, it was.
Really?
When he was,
God, I missed that one.
Yeah,
I think after this, no, you know what? We need to make a rule. If it was in a Marvel movie, you can't use it anymore. We need to kind of,
they know how to pick them.
I think we need an embargo. I think we need a self-imposed embargo that
Yep.
I didn't even realize.
They play a little bit of it. I think it was the when they were all trying to like lift the hammer, like everybody's trying to
okay,
and all the like everybody's lining up, like the guys in the pickup trucks, and that when they find it in the desert, and they're all trying to lift it, so they're playing that song in the back.
I didn't know Kenneth Branagh had it in him, right? All right, that's going to do it for our top 5 one-hit wonders of the 70s. You got top 5, but you got 4 more, so that's 9 each times 3. So that's 27 songs right out of the gate of a playlist, which is going to be a home run. Nobody adds anything, but we want you to hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and add to it. And we're going to put a link in the show notes for that. We're going to put a link in the show notes for Obstacle Running Adventures, so you can check out Mike's podcast and the OCR Report, which is their Instagram handle. I got it mixed up. I'm very sorry, Mike. Mike Stefano, thank you so much, dude. You're welcome back anytime you want to come on. Open invite.
Appreciate you guys having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We always have a blast. But I think top 5s are great for new guests, because it's kind of easy. They can bring their own material, and it's something that it's a lot of fun. It's we do a lot of reminiscing, and I think it kind of brings out the personal stuff of music. What connects you to these songs, and we like to hear. Right. We always love to hear about that. Why people choose things and how they connect to it and why. So, right, who would have known you're into martial arts and like kung fu fighting was like became the bane of your existence. Like,
and the Karate Kid movie, both of those are just like common references.
Yeah, well, the Karate Kid again, that went through a thing where it was a cult film. Now because of Cobra Kai, everything is Karate Kid. Again, I kind of feel like. I wish it didn't because I'd rather have Karate Kid as a personal, film that is ours type thing. Mm-hmm. But Cobra Kai kind of brought it out, and Ralph Macchio's got a second lease on life, which is great. He just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Mr. Lawrence was the one that did the. Not Martin Cove, but William Zabka was the guy that kind of did the speech and stuff like that. But you have a problem with that, Mr. Lawrence? Feel like matching? Anyway, that's going to do it again. Check out Mike Stefano, his obstacle running adventures. Check out that podcast. Even if it's not your thing, just give it a listen because it's just intriguing information. And like I said, he comes from the racing communities are great groups of people. And as you see, he loves music. So he's already, he's aces in my book already as it is. So.
But I think he loves running more because I'm looking at all those medals in the background. So that's
don't make me go. I don't have that many, but I can go bring a mug out with some etching.
For a busy year.
There you go.
But yeah, he's always out and about. So I thank you for making time too, because this guy's always out and about, going to races and like I said, interviewing out. Out in the field, we just Eric and I sit in our comfortable chairs and talk about stuff. And Mike is out there getting it done. So
it's great to meet you, Mike.
Good to meet you too.
See you again. Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to do it for us. Again, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Hit us up there. Give us your picks. We will add them to the dynamic playlist and grow it. But like I said, the parameters are still the same. You're going to have to do, if you don't do the research, I may do it for you, but we want to keep it to top 20. But I think most what people know are automatically going to probably slot in there. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be good. But that's going to do it for this episode. So for Mike, for Eric, this has been Dean. We will catch you on the flip side.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 Podcast and on Twitter at 3324P to join the conversation.